Hi guys, and welcome to another edition of The Kevin Moore Show. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Lee Sumpter. Now Lee has worked for many years in engineering and sales. He has lived and travelled in 48 of the 50 United States and 10 foreign countries. He has been a teacher and written articles for publication. Now finally, after retiring from teaching, it was possible for him to devote full time to his studying and writing his channeled work. Lee Sumpter, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Kevin.
It's great to have you on. Now, I've had you on before for your book, We Are Creators. I know there's a hell of a lot that we've got to just discuss right now as well. But just to give a bit of background on you, when did you first start to do your creative writing?
Well, I've been writing and teaching writing for decades and decades. But basically, I really tore into it after 2009 when I retired. And I've published basically a book every 2 or 2.5 years
Wow.
since then. Yes, it's shocking, really. I am, absolutely amazed.
But let me ask you this. You always had the mediumistic gift, did you, throughout your career? Was that mediumistic gift there?
That's something that's developed over the years, little by little. I mean, people also ask me, well, when did I know that I had certain psychic abilities? A better question, from what I know now, when did I accept that I had certain psychic abilities? And that's just been something that's been coming along over the years. Now, my wife had a lot to do with my accepting that I had more than certain abilities.
So she was your catalyst for pushing you a little bit.
Absolutely, she certainly was. She encouraged and encouraged.
So that's strange, because knowing a bit about the obviously your wife's passed now. We're going to later on in the show talk about the book that is going to come out soon. That's channeled from your wife. But then she turned her back against that, though, didn't she? She turned away from.
Yes, she did. And we have several relatives. We have a relative that's an ordained minister who's very psychic, and she asked him, like others, how can you reconcile your Christian Protestant religious teachings with your psychic knowledge and experience? How can you put these together? She considered that it was work of the devil, all those formulas.
Right.
And
but
she couldn't shake them out of her head from childhood.
But that's crazy, because then she's the person that pushed you. So was that
Absolutely, yes. It was all right for me, but not for her.
So was that difficult for you towards the end of her life when that shift happened from nowhere?
Well, yes, she paid no further attention to my writing or my investigations. She just was silent. She just wouldn't. The further she got to being aware that she was dying, that the end was near, the more she pulled away. She just was really terrified.
So what did she die of?
She had a stroke, basically. And it affected the bulbar region of the brain, which is swallowing, speaking.
Right.
And ultimately, the last 6 or so months, she was mute. She couldn't speak, and she could hardly swallow. It was tragic, but fortunately, she died soon after, she couldn't talk anymore. It was a blessing. When she finally did go, it was a blessing.
And how are you now since then? I mean, how have you coped with that?
Well, I'm doing all right. I took up dancing as a therapy.
Yeah.
I've been dancing now for 2 years. I can do 14 different dances.
That's great. No, that's great. That's beautiful to hear. And but I'm guessing the communication you've had with your wife has been very healing for you both.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
She's different now. She's changed because people on the other side have jobs, many jobs, and some of them are occupied with helping people pass over. And she has become a guide.
Yeah.
and she helps she works in children's health, particularly in Appalachia here in the United States. And she was always involved with children. And but she's learned to be a guide for many people.
Right.
It's not so easy to do. So she said, the occupations, interests, activities change for those that pass on, just
Right.
like they change for those of us that remain, that are
Yeah.
the survivors.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay. Okay. And you would say that you're an automatic writer? You do automatic writing?
Yes, I guess you could call it. Yes. Yeah, that would be.
Which is a form of channeled writing, isn't it? You're allowing.
Yes.
So when you channel your wife, she's sort of coming through you. She's taking over a little bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. I don't really know when I start what the sentence is going to say or where it's going.
Yeah.
It's not like if you are listening to someone talk, your brain can run ahead of them and finish their sentence a lot of times.
Yeah.
Or if you're reading something, you can follow the logic and fill in.
Of
But
course.
when it's channeling, it doesn't happen that way. You just don't have any idea until it's all done.
Right. 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 Absolutely. It's very different. It's very different. And yeah, I guess it's this book and these other books that you've done, they're healing. They're healing books. They're healing tools. Are they? Would you say are they also ways to open up people's minds to a greater reality?
Well, I really hope so. Of course. I mean, that's really the push. Rethink, think more broadly. Let information in that previously you wouldn't let in. You didn't even know it was there. And just see where that gets you. One
Yeah.
thing leads to another.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And what's the difference? What's the difference between the message you get and the message that of the books that you've read?
Well, it's usually above and beyond or to the side of what I might read. And there's a real problem. I'm running into this right now. Everywhere I go is the spirituality right now, I find, tends to be 70s and 80s. It's a rehash of, say, Seth material. Seth material poorly understood, not broadly understood. And it's time to move on. In fact, I'm getting ready to write about that. That's been brewing for some time now. But the universe has to be seen in a different way, and we have to understand our spiritual capabilities in a new way. We really do. We've got to get past talking to our grandmothers. We have a tremendous source of very profound information. Let's say the same sources as Einstein and Edison, really creative, inventive people. We have those same resources available to us if we'll just pay attention. And part of that, of course, is accepting that we do have that. We have that available to us, and we can receive it. We can use it. We just have to see ourselves in a new way, and that's part of what this book was about. Actually, the old is new, because the premise, it turns out, I didn't know this when I started. I often don't. That's another thing about what's the difference in your question, is that you have no idea what you're going to know, what you're going to write about. You really don't. Or even sometimes they will give me a topic. When I was writing the first book, I would know that I was going to write something about nuclear physics. And I would say, well, I don't know anything about that. And then 2 or 3 hours later, so many pages later, it was all there, all laid out. Now, I knew as much as a high school chemistry student back then. So I understood, once it was all laid out. But if you'd asked me to write it just cold out of nowhere, part of this, I get this information that comes to me And I keep going. Well, the chapter in this book about Lemuria, and the purpose was to show that, first of all, half a million years ago, or more, we were very, very advanced beings, contrary to what we're taught. We're taught that we're some kind of freakish simian. But in fact, we were very spiritual and advanced, capable of space travel, capable actually of teletransportation and moving about without any conveyance. So, this is contrary to what our scientists are telling us about our origins, the recent version. And, if we see ourselves as capable of knowing these things, then in fact, we will be able to benefit from them. I can't remember exactly when I was starting to write, when I started writing that first book, I had to have a re-education. But anyway, we need to see the universe as one where we have choices and where we actually participate in a huge democratic, of all things, process, so that the conditions under which we live on the Earth, in the solar system, and in the universe itself, the galaxy, is of our choosing. But there are leaders, and there are those that regulate who and what we do. If we wanted to, for instance, create a world where there are pterodactyls, well, we wouldn't be able to do that, because the regulators would say, no, you all have said there are no more pterodactyls. Now, there are some now who are trying to recreate, dinosaur type creatures. Perhaps they will succeed with the woolly mammoth. But anyway, we have our norms. And one of the things that Seth said in his books is, for instance, about World War II, as horrific as it was, horrible, as everything that happened had been worked out in heaven, he said. Everything that happened had been worked out before it actually came out. So that two people at some point may have programmed their life to be on either side of a front line. And they agreed between them that one would fire the bullet that would kill the other one. That was already agreed upon, because we have that intelligence, and we can program our lives even to include these horrible things from which we are supposed to learn. And I touch upon that in this book, where I have a chapter called, first of all, there's a chapter called Hitler in Heaven. And one of the things there is that Hitler was not alone. There were hundreds of thousands of people that went along with the whole thing. In fact, we still are hearing echoes of it nowadays, where we still have countries that think they can take over the world. Empire's still a dream for some cultures. But I do also have a chapter about the number of people that humans have exterminated over a given period of time. We don't talk about this. We don't read about it. But, we had this horrible tidal wave in Southeast Asia that, 30 some odd thousand people perished. But very near to there, you had Laos, where you had that bunch of communists. One of whom, the instigator, is still going. He's still alive. And Pol Pot. And they killed millions. And then if you throw in how many millions the communist Chinese did in, then how many the Russians, and then the Germans sound like ultimately small potatoes compared to these other guys. We don't this comes out every now and then, but okay, again, so what? Well, we have to realize that whatever natural catastrophes that may happen, and there will be, because I have several chapters in the beginning of the book that show that there will be. Not all of it's from me. That what we do as humans can be much, much worse. It can be much worse. Now, I don't know. See, I've heard it said that somebody asked guides on the other side how the world wars was even possible. And the guides answered, these were a couple of things, these were wars that were allowed to happen. And there actually has been a movement now. The founder of Ozark Mountain Publishing, Cannon, Dolores Cannon, has a whole book about people that have been sent here to Earth, and I came upon one not long ago. Have been sent here from other planets, other universes, to simply keep terrible things from happening, to keep us from blowing ourselves up, to put a drag on it all. And they come here, they don't get along well. They don't know why they're here. They sometimes leave early. They commit suicide, among other things. But the discussion that Dolores Cannon has in one of her readings was that the guides think that there are enough of these so-called alien, I mean, people that don't fit in very well. There are enough of them now to serve as a break from our craziness, from our crazy ambitions. Okay, so there is some regulation going on. You know, there are regulators in the spirit world. We have some say in what the regulations are. We have a tremendous existence beyond our physical life. This is a doctor. His name is Newton. I can't think of his name, first name. He wrote 2 books. He's got two. Michael Newton has 2 books on hypnotic regression. And one of his clients, thank you for that, one of his clients said that only about, I get the percentage wrong, but not the whole power of the soul is employed in creating a life. That most of the soul goes on about its business elsewhere. In fact, the remark was made that the earth and the body could not deal with all of the power of the soul. So we have lives, and of course, it's slowly getting out that we're not even in earth life for the full 24 hours of a day. When we're asleep, when we're daydreaming, I swear when we're driving down the road on long distance or whatever, we can sometimes, we will be in heaven, talking to people. They're taking classes, listening to lectures. Yeah. Okay. So there's just so much more to us than we realize. Now, this particular book, The Old is New, has a chapter called The Big Ball of Twine. And the deal there is, around the earth, so to speak, there are layers and layers and layers of other existence, of electromagnetic existence, of course, light, all kinds of things that we don't even know about. And all of these layers need to be regulated. And we participate in the management. We serve on huge committees of millions of souls that regulate all of these things outside of the earth. So we may think we have a lot of committees to tend to here with our different organizations, but we are on we are on immense committee things outside of our physical existence. So this is what I'm saying. There's a whole lot more to us than we have been led to believe by religious and scientific leaders, whatever.
Yeah. So just getting back to what you were saying at the very beginning there as well, in regards to the old is new, when you spoke about the Seth material, were you saying there that it's that material? I mean, that material is very useful to a lot of people, isn't it? There, people still pick up the Seth books and get a lot of great, still connect with Seth through reading those books, don't they? And the information they get is still pretty, if you see Seth as a standard, a lot of things from Seth has actually been copied in the channeled information that's out there.
Well, we need to have more of that. Now, this reminds me of the point I was going to make. I live in a very spiritual place. I'm fortunate for that, very fortunate. And there are around me many, many people who are practicing mediums and who are taking training to be mediums. But the emphasis is all about talking to relatives who've passed on. There is not, I also know, I'm fortunate here, I know some extremely good psychic readers who can really help you with your life plan, and Akashic readers as well. But this whole emphasis on getting in touch, well, here's the issue, really. Proof of life after death. We're still tied up in trying to argue that there's life after death, and we're still trying to prove to others by bringing forth their ancestors who passed on. We're trying to prove that they're out there and they do follow us around and they do pay attention to us. But we are not understanding the whole cosmogony. We don't understand that the life we lead is only a small part of our total life, that we are in constant contact, not only with each other here, but with all of those who've passed on. We are in contact with with us in past lives. We are in contact with us in future lives. We're in this thing where there's just no time. It's all about activity and learning and spiritual advancement. So we need to tap into that. We need to abandon this preoccupation with getting spirit to move an object, to manifest in some way, speak, all of this stuff. This is from the 1900s. This is seance stuff, Ouija board, sitting in dark rooms and getting someone to come forward, and on, all that stuff that was argued over and hoaxed and everything else. We need to understand that we can tap into intelligence. We can have broader, greater, deeper intelligence. We are intelligence. It's when we start thinking that we're not, and we think ourselves in the old ways, then that stuff, we don't hear it. We can't hear it. We can't hear what we don't believe.
Well,
that's the whole thing.
What's the difference then between if you want to get a reading about your relationship, which even I do sometimes, right?
Oh, I do lots of times.
Yeah, right. That's so we can't ignore that. But what is the difference between people seeking a much deeper connection with something deeper than just, where's my job going, where's my love life going, and where's my what other issues do people are common things for people? Job, love, and health, I guess, a little bit, right? When you talk about having that broader that deeper connection with spirit, because we need to move past the sort of fuzzy stuff in a sense, right?
Yeah. Well, this goes in with the first question you asked, is what's the difference between what you learn from research, from reading, and what comes in channeling. What's the difference? Okay. Well, the channel stuff is stuff you've never heard of. You never imagined, you never thought to put this with that. You never thought that that was possibility. And what you can learn past your life readings is that you yourself can do. You can be aware of your life. You can have hunches. You can see that as valid information. In other words, you can learn to live by intuition, which is what you're supposed to do. You can learn to live by sixth sense. And everybody needs clarification once in a while, maybe more than once in a while, in sticky situations with some kind of a life reader. I'm very well aware of that. As I said, I know lots of very good readers that I do have recourse to, but I'm fine. I have one reader that she just when I go to, because I don't anymore. When I used to go to consult her, she would sit there and sigh, and she would say, "Well, you already know this," and I would know what she's going to tell me. But I do also have a few more readers that are full of surprises. But on the other hand, I know sometimes about 60, 70% of what they're going to say. We have to learn to trust our intuition. That is kind of a sixth sense, an extra sense that we can use to guide our thinking in whatever it is that we're doing. So what could I say? I mean, we can go to these readers, life readers, for a tune-up. But for instance, Kevin, now here's really a big answer to your question. I have a very good reader that I've been working with since 2010. She predicted all three of these books. At that point, I was writing essays, but she predicted that I would write 3 books right away. And I said, okay, I'm going to write, I'm writing about metaphysics or whatever. What else am I going to write? She said, you're going to write biographical material. And I said, no, I would never write about biographical material. I don't have anything in my biography that's worth writing about. Well, that's what I'm doing right now. And that's like my third book called Judy's Story is about my life and about when she died and about using my skills as a medium to receive information from her about her passing on. So that was, and then I'm writing biographical stuff about how I always see things later in life. I have visions and dreams. So, woof, I can't remember exactly where this is going. I didn't have enough breakfast. But anyway, that's the way that this intuition will become part of how you do things, how you plan things, and especially how you understand what goes on around you and around those around you.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
We are one of the other big points of the first book, which I just read that Seth says the same thing. I've seen 2 or 3 other things lately, people writing that said the same thing. We are in telepathic communication, constant telepathic contact with everybody in the world. We are one mind. Now, a lot of people are saying this nowadays. More people have to meditate on that, understand what that is. But we're all of one mind. So when one of us thinks something, it's no secret. Sorry. And actually, if you are paying attention to your guides who are talking to you, and even your loved ones who can talk to you, who they themselves know they can talk to you, and you train yourself to tune into them, you will see They're reading your thoughts. They know what you're thinking, and they will make comments about it. So we are of one mind. And this knowledge was part of everyday life a million years ago. It was part of living on this planet in the days of, say, Lemuria, for instance, and Atlantis and other unknown places. This was just part of living there, living on the earth. But we've gotten far from that. You know, we see ourselves as, I don't know, bricks.
Yeah, yeah.
Animated bricks.
Yeah. And when I said earlier on that, you know, a lot of the material, some of the channels material out there is copied from Seth, what I meant by that is that they're saying the same thing. It's not for some people new information coming through. It's the same stuff that's coming through. And I've thought this over long and hard, and I thought, well, maybe that's because, you know, we never listened in the first place, and the people that bring that message forth to the people that are resonating with that message that they're coming with, that's what they need to hear, because they can't hear it through Seth. They'll never pick up a Seth book, but they will pick up material that this other person's saying, that's channeling it, and that's what those people need.
Yes, fine and good, fine and good. It's also true, I can give you an example, for instance, and this is an area I'm working in right now. Seth has a passage where he talks about how we create matter, how we create the matter that's present to our senses right now. And I have a chapter in this, The Old is New, about how we create the matter in our body, which we are constantly doing. We recreate 175 million cells a week. And that makes us, you know, creating cells is creating molecules, is creating atoms, atomic power. We are real dynamos. Okay? And Seth said, now this is contrary to all physiology. He said that the brain projects chemicals out in front of our vision. And we use these chemicals to shape matter, shape energy into matter. One of the things that they taught me in the first book, The Spirits, was that each sense has its own universe. So that something only has to look solid to your eyes. If you reach to touch it to your skin, it has to feel solid. Okay, and of course, sound is a type of phenomenon that to which your ears are sensitive. A little bit, of course, your skin can't be, but you don't taste sound, although there may be some who do. But each sense itself has its own universe. So we create to satisfy the sensory needs of each of our various senses. Well, the thing I'm going after here, Seth used the word chemicals, because that then was a word that would fit into people's understanding. Now, for instance, and the new stuff that I'm writing and what I have been taught recently is that we use electromagnetic projections, waves from our brain to actually form, shape molecules according to what our senses require. Now that's a little, I mean, we understand electromagnetic waves now. We have what do I want to say, microwave. We have Skype. We have all these things that we do now with electromagnetic waves, which back in those days was not so common. So he used the word chemicals. But how did the brain project chemicals, of course, you know? So I'm just saying that Seth delivered the message in the terms that would hopefully be most comprehensible at that time. But as we're bringing out here, things are now being explained in more up-to-date ways, even though our ability to explain is inadequate. Right. Because the phenomena themselves, you know, are well beyond current I don't know, our current understanding of things.
Yeah, yeah.
Belief is everything. You have to
Sure,
change your
sure,
beliefs.
sure. So I guess you're someone that's always been on a search more into your this latter part of your life, that you're more on a search of deeper understandings. Now, you lost your wife passed away not too long ago. I think it was 2016, and that's
Right.
what your newer book, which comes out soon, which we will link below in the description. That just tell us what that book title's called.
That book's called Judy's Story.
And just tell us a bit of a synopsis about that book, please.
Well, now I am a medium, and I can see and I can talk to other people's relatives or even my own if I want. I have for some time been able to, I'm aware of my activities in heaven. Okay.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm saying this in a public forum, but I am. And Judy knew this. Judy had to do with my becoming spiritual. And after she passed, a bunch of us, she was talking to a bunch of the people in my family who are also very psychic. And she was saying, she said, for instance, for one thing, once she was away from her sick body that was damaged beyond repair. She wanted to go on living in the new body and enjoy it, and also make up for the years when she was really slowly dying, and she was slowly pulling away from us. And she wanted to make up for that. And on this side, I was in the hospital hearing from doctors that her body was destroyed and that she couldn't come back. On her side, her medical people that were greeting her on that side and helping her adjust. She was actually taken in a hospital setting, which I saw. They told her that no, even they couldn't repair her body, and that it was time for her to pass on. So anyway, several months later, after she passed on, I was getting a reading from my Akashic reader, and Judy been kind of saying these things, but the way Judy was talking about spiritual things before she died, because she was afraid her spiritual work was going to cause her to be sent to hell, because it wasn't fundamental religion, I don't know, whatever. But these were ideas from her childhood, and she couldn't shake them. Now, a lot of people have this problem. So anyway, this medium, there was actually more than one medium, said she wants to write a book with you. She wants to tell tell the story of her experiences as she passed on, and as she struggled with this go to hell thing. And so they let me know that what should I say? I needed to accept that she could do this and that she wanted to do it. And I needed to accept, of course, that I could channel whatever she told me. I could channel, as she narrated. So off we went. I taught her actually at some point over there how to adjust her vibration to talk to somebody on this side. And I also had to learn to focus better for a long narration. And so I started writing and writing and writing. And she wrote really 2/3 of the book. I wrote what I experienced on my side, grief and what can I say? I mean, the really amazing things from watching what she was going through, and from my experiences with what communication that I did have with her as she was passing on. That was when I saw her in the hospital setting in heaven, I thought that meant she had recovered here, and they moved her out of the ICU onto the floor, and that meant that, in fact, their magic equipment, she wires and tubes, I don't know how many of those towers were around her, a dozen. And then it worked. And in fact, it was going to be a near-death experience. And it turned out that no, the hospital setting that she was in, she said this at some point. She said there were wonderful fragrances floating through the air, and there was this wonderful music, soft music playing. She said, "You don't get that in the hospital." That's rarely what you experience in a hospital. They just don't do that. So she knew, she got suspicious herself. She went through a time when she was trying to figure out what had happened, which is not unusual. I'm a bit of a student of near-death experiences, and also of other people who have written books where they channeled someone who passed on. So I have some background. I don't know, what would you say? Maybe I was being prepared to write her book. She wants to write another book about flowers, and I'm working on it, but I haven't really gotten down to writing it. I should. I just got that bang. I just got that kicked in the head. Right. Yes, you should. And actually, I published an article in the Atlantic magazine, Oracle 2020. I published an article by her. Okay. Which was totally her narration. So I'm not done, or she's not done. Sure. We're not done.
So what would you say then, in the information that you're putting out there now, would you say that there's an important message within those two books, The Old is New and the communications with Judith?
Yes, because really, it's Judy's story is in so many ways a demonstration of what I am promoting in The Old is New, and also the first book, We Are the Creators. It really is a demonstration, and it is about opening yourself up to what they're trying to tell us from the other side, from the beyond our reality.
Lee, I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you've had to discuss with us today. And I'm sure once the book with Judith comes out in the future, once I've not got such a hectic schedule right now with getting my channeling documentary out, that we will go through that book in a bit more depth. And I just thank you for the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for giving the opportunity to explain.
Thank you, mate. Take care.
Okay.